So today I just wanted to discuss, the ways of God and the ways of evil. The difference between God and of evil is, first of all, God warns you and tells you certain things you should and should not do, and people take that as a strange rule of thumb that um, that's just, an angry God or a God that doesn't want us to have any fun or a God who cares about what people are doing in the bedrooms. But what people don't realize is there are certain lifestyles, whether it's through adultery or whatever it is you're doing that's against God, which I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, like, whatever you're doing, um, that the occult really, really likes. So if you want to find a group of people who are really big fans of adultery, homosexuality, men dressing in men in dresses, um, pedophilia. If you want to find a group of people that want all the things that your human senses say you want and you're allowed to have, you'll find them in the occult. These are the same people who right now are really enjoying this idea of cannibalism right now. They're really big fans of it. So, if that's your people, if that's what you're all about, then that's exactly who you'll keep company with eventually. Just keep stepping into those waters, and it tempts you very easily. It's like a slippery slope. It's like, well, when you go into the ocean and all of a sudden the sandbar kind of gives way out from underneath your feet. Before you know it, it just took those one to two things that God spoke against that has you in the deep, and all of a sudden you're surrounded by sharks. And you realize at that moment, oh, I guess I'm not a shark. I guess that's not who I am. So there's like these interviews of people now, whether or not you believe they really were in the occult or not doesn't really matter, because you can see their emotions are sincere and genuine, because there are certain aspects that they really enjoyed, whether it was the drugs or the money or whatever it is that they were really into. That's the thing that pulled them into the occult, because it was warm water. But you'll see, like, this one guy, he's a banker. I don't know his name, but he's German, and he speaks of certain members, people with money and influence he used to keep pace with. This is why if you have friends that have money, you got to keep them at arm's length, because uh, there's a reason why they have the money and the reason why they can keep it, and there's a reason why most of the people they're hanging out with are strange. I'm just keeping it real. Like, I've not met spiritually in the spirit. I've met somebody with millions of dollars who has a lot of influence who hasn't creeped me out beyond, like, literally, like, maybe want to crawl out of my own skin. They're so creepy. But anyway, uh, there's this guy. He's like a German banker. He claims to be in some really deep occult, and he was kind of talking about, the influences they had, the things they were doing. But at the end of the interview, and you've probably seen it before, he said there are certain rituals, certain things they would do that would involve, and he got really emotional and said it involved children, and that's it for some people, because it just keeps drawing you in and drawing you in and drawing you in with all the things you love, whether it's food, whether it's money, whether it's drugs, it's all the things it teaches you to love, and to hate God. And then all of a sudden it starts to draw you in to a point where, even though maybe your conscience has been, I guess, seared, um, there's just, if you're lucky, it draws you into a point where you see something that's beyond forgivable, and you go running out. And that's assuming you survive whatever's them, because odds are, if you're that deep, you've gone too far. And that's only through the grace of God that you can live to tell the tale. But this is why God tells you to stay away from certain things, from doing certain things, because this is how you get into love triangles that make sure you end up on 2020. Um, it's really, really important that you understand the importance. Even with things like Black Lives Matter, it's teaching people to to um, to idolize race. And I understand that it's supposed to be fixing and mending a wrong, but that's exactly how um, identity politics has led to really strange things like the Holocaust. I know I keep going back to that because it's like the most tragic thing, but rumor has it, I've heard this theory, that the German people had lost a lot of wars, a lot of battles between other countries for years, and at some point they had to look inward at themselves and find some type of inner pride in something, and had to find a cat within themselves to kick. And there's this conspiracy theory that Jewish people have all this money and stuff, so they looked within themselves and said, this is our enemy, let's get them. Because there's an Aryan race thing, there's a pride within themselves they had to find in order to undo some type of pride. They had something in them that they couldn't fix, and they felt like they were defeated, and so they had to find somebody within themselves that they could defeat. And it wasn't them, it had to be the smallest part of them, and it had to be somebody they knew they could have victory over. So they kicked the cat, of course, as people do, as Jewish people have been this way throughout a very long time. So if anybody wants to talk about a race of people who really had it hard, it's the Jewish people. I'm going to keep it real. Everybody has gotten kicked at some point. The Irish coming into America, they were the last to get jobs when they came in. The Native Americans, I mean, we could go around the table and we could talk about every single culture. So when one culture says we need to be held up to a certain regard, regardless of how, what it does to society, how much it destroys society, there's a problem. And it's really easy, and Black Lives Matter sounds great. I mean, it really is a great title. It's like saying Care Bears. Like, who could have disagreed with Care Bears? Oh, we're the Care Bears, but you're destroying things, and people are investing in the Care Bears or this industry, this organization. That's not investing back in any community. They're not being held accountable for any of the money they're getting. Do you see anywhere where they're saying what they're doing with the money? No. They're there because they have an agenda. They're there because, just like everything else, they're there to use a certain community to get ahead in some type of agenda. And I'm sick of that community being used. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of watching it, and I'm sick of hearing about people are being held down who don't want to talk about the basic issue of abortion that's really holding Black people down. That's really what's doing it. So I am passionate about it, and I'm not virtue signaling. And at the end of the day, this is about Jesus. This is about having the Holy Spirit. If all police officers had the Holy Spirit, if everybody had the Holy Spirit, we'd have a lot more union. We'd have a lot more, because Jesus died for everybody. I really believe He is the answer, and I know nobody wants to hear it. I know it. But anyway, about the occult. It goes from the uniform looks good on me, and this is the way in which we have national pride. And the head of our country happens to start with an H, and he has a really cool, symbol he does with his hand, what I'm saying, Hitler, with the whole Heil Hitler stuff. And it all looks good, and all might feel good, but doesn't mean it's good. And that's exactly how you get drawn into that water, That's exactly how you go from just following along with the agenda to now you have to have the gun in your hand and now you have to participate in full. Or the gun, you're with them or you're against them. We'll destroy you if you're not with us. If you are with us, then we get to use you to no end, and we'll never forgive you no matter what you do. No matter what, you'll never be forgiven. So at the end of the day, if your agenda is not kingdom agenda, odds are it's going to perish and burn away, just like everything else in this world is going to perish and burn away. Recently, I was praying because, I think what happens sometimes as a Christian, you just think to yourself, man, I'm not going to let go. So today in the spirit, I said it, to Jesus, and his response back was, and I never have let you go. And I never have let go of you, and I never will. So, the thing that I think we should be praying is, and it's from the pit of your person, from the pit of your heart, from the pit of your spirit, when it feels like a black hole has, shown up in the middle of your chest and it's sucking in the very essence of your being. At my core, I just was like, I'm not gonna let go. I'm not. But for the first time in a very long time, I heard an answer back, which is, He never has, He never will let go. And when God tells you something, you can take it to the bank. And even when there is no bank, when God tells you something, you can take it, and it will be more valuable than all the gold in all the world. And so what I'm asking you guys to do is to pray that God never lets you go. Because at the end of the day, we're mere humans, and He's the only one who's going to really have the ability to truly hang on when push comes to shove. So, this is Linda of Christ is King Forever. May God be with you.